So long. First of all, a huge thank you to Ben Kinsey. Had the pleasure of watching him most Sundays when he was here on YouTube. He did a wonderful job, and I know and it was a long time ago I was in theology school, but to have that kind of experience over that many Sundays is a real gift. So I know Ben appreciated the opportunity and did a great job. And secondly, thank you to all of you for giving me the chance to step away for 3 months and renew and refresh. And I know it's a privilege that few get in their careers, so that's not lost on me. It was great. I appreciated it. I hope the reward is better preaching, or maybe some new jokes. I don't know. But anyways, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be back. I'd like to begin by saying good morning to anybody who's visiting with us, or if you've got something to share, you're celebrating, we'd love to know. We're going to start right at the back with Sue.
I have my 4th granddaughter, Nora Josephine, and she's here today. Born on Monday, the 31st.
So Nora Josephine, born on Monday, and Jessica, that's your little girl. Can you hold her up? Jessica, you're a weightlifter. You can lift her up. Do it like the Lion King. Oh. Congratulations. That's really, really great news. If you can see it from home, you probably can't see her, but she is beautiful. Anybody else? I noticed a couple of friends from my first church in Beaton are here. Ray and Brenda Lisk, welcome. Happy to have you with us. Yes, ma'am. It's Doreen's birthday today. Happy birthday, Doreen. Oh. It's my 61st anniversary. Congratulations. Well, if you are celebrating, oh yes, Lorna. Thanks, Lorna. Noah, you went through a lot. We're so glad that you're healthy and that you're back again. Welcome. I assume there's no announcements, or I have just one, and that's following the service today. We're having ice cream in the back hall, just kind of a midsummer treat, so I hope you might come back and join us for some lemonade and some sundaes and just a chance to visit. So that takes place right after the service. Let's begin now by, oh, I didn't do the gathering song. That's what happens when you go away. So we're going to do our gathering song. And it is Sing Your Joy. It's going to be up on the screen. So I invite you to stand and let us sing together. And halfway through, we'll take a moment to greet those around us. Don't get too comfortable because you're jumping up again in about 20 seconds. Our call to worship is on our screen. I invite you to join me. Every day is a gift, inviting the best from us.
Every day is a gift, evoking in us a sense of wonder.
Every day is a gift, giving us opportunities for love and service.
Every day is a gift, offering us a chance to start fresh.
This day is a gift, so open wide your senses to its glory, its wonder, its peace. Let us worship. Our opening hymn is "Would You Bless Our Homes and Families?" If you'd like to stand, you can. Please do. On the screen again, I'd like you to join me and let us offer this prayer together and let us pray. God of this new day, as summer rolls into another month, we are keenly aware of the passing of time. It can make us feel like there is an urgency to life, and yet we are invited to enter each day with a sense of calm and peace, letting its pace and rhythm draw us into the balance with all of creation. On this summer Sunday, may we be filled with awe as we seek to see with new eyes the blessings that are all around us. In the birds of the air and in the flowers of the field, there is enough beauty to engage our senses and draw us back into relationship with you, in whom all creation has its place and purpose. May this hour of worship be a blessing as we come together as a community of the faithful, drawn together by our desire to renew and refresh our spirits, and find ourselves again in the symphony of life playing all around us. Amen. This morning, I happen to have Lori, who's going to share special music with you. Thanks, Lori. We're not having children's hymn today, but we are having children's time, and it looks like we've got some kids in that back corner. And if you'd like to come up and join me, I would love to have you come up and join me. Any takers? Attaboy, Dougie. Oh, Trinity, you're such a good sport. Thank you. Hi. Look at this happy group coming up. Come on over, guys. You can sit here, or you can sit there, or wherever you want to sit. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. It's nice to be back again after being away for so long. It's a long weekend. Anybody doing anything special this weekend? Anybody? Jenny, what are you doing? Did you go to Camping Fest? Okay. How many people here today being at Camping Fest this weekend? A few? Not too many. Anybody else doing anything special? Doug? Which beach? Johnson's Beach. Nice. That's a nice beach. Busy, right? How? Yeah. Swirlies to get frozen yogurt? Good choice. Good choice. So as some of you may know, some of you probably don't know, that I spent 2 weeks in Newfoundland. And has anybody here been to Newfoundland? Anybody out there been to Newfoundland? Oh, look at that. So it's a beautiful, beautiful part of our country. And there's some very special things that you find in Newfoundland that you don't find in a lot of places. And one of them are these guys. Anybody see? Anybody know what they're called? They're called puffins, yeah. They are sometimes called the parrots of the sea because they kind of look like parrots, don't they? And you don't find puffins in many places. You find them on the east coast of North America. You find them on the west coast of Europe. You find them in places like Iceland that are in between. But otherwise, they're a pretty rare bird to find. And I was lucky that I went to a little place called Bonavista, and there was a cliff, and all on the cliff were dozens and dozens of these puffins, so I got to see them. So I actually learned a good life lesson from my day with puffins. But first, I just thought, because you're missing school so much, that I'm going to teach you a little bit about puffins. And I got my notes because I'm going to forget. So, a couple of interesting things. Look at their beaks. They are beautiful, bright colors, but they're only that color in the summer. Do you know what color they are in the winter? White. Close. They turn a white, gray, black color. But only in the summer do they turn into the bright colors that you see here. Why do you think they have bright colored beaks?
They have white colored beaks to act as camouflage.
It's a good answer, act as a camouflage. It's actually to attract a mate, right? So their mates can look how good they are, go, oh, I think I might want to go out with that puffin, right? This is really cool. They are one of the fastest birds in the world. They flap their wings up to 400 times a minute. Think of how fast that is.
But they aren't faster than a mosquito, right?
No. And they can fly up to 88 kilometers an hour, which is really fast. They live a lot of their lives actually right on the sea. I'll get you after, W, okay? They actually will sit on the waves, and they can actually fall asleep sitting on the waves going up and down. So they're definitely sea creatures. They have basically only one predator, something that will go after them. Anybody know what the predator is? What do you think, W? Well, sharks, I'm sure if they saw a puffin on the ground, they'd probably go for it too. What do you think? Nope, good guess, not a seal. Seagulls. Or as I like to think of them as the cats of the sky. Sorry, Doreen. So the seagulls they're kind of bully the puffins. So the seagulls will swoop down and they'll steal the puffins' food, and sometimes they will actually attack the puffins and eat them, although that's rare. So the puffins always have to watch out for seagulls. Here's the lesson that I learned. Do you want to hold that for me? There, perfect, thank you. Here's the lesson that I learned from the puffins. When I got, this is a picture I actually took, this is a photograph. So when I got up there, I wanted to take a picture of the puffins, and I found they were all lined up along the edge of the cliff, and the closer I would get, what would happen? They'd fly away, right? They would get nervous, they would fly away. So I couldn't get a good picture of the puffin. What I discovered is if I just sat still and quiet, didn't move, didn't say anything, had my camera ready, they didn't really fly, they would hop right up to me. Look how close this guy got to me. They would hop up to me, I could get a picture. So long as I was quiet and peaceful, they would come to me. And I thought, this is a great lesson in life, right? Sometimes we're so busy and we're so active and we want to go and do things all the time. Sometimes it's okay to be quiet and patient and peaceful. And when we are, sometimes that's when good things will come to us. So that's what I learned from the puffins. Patience is a wonderful virtue in life and when you are trying to take pictures of puffins. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Why about the speed of the maximum kilometers you can go on a highway?
Good for you. Yeah, maximum on the highway is 100. These guys fly at 88. They're pretty close. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, well, you've driven me, Dougie, sometimes it's 120. So Lori's got Sunday school, so if you guys would like to go to Sunday school, or you can sit down, whatever you want to do, just follow Lori. And let us now continue to worship God as we present and dedicate our morning offering.
One first, right? Would you like to count with me? Sure.
the beauty we see around us, for the warmth of this community, and for the faith that sustains us in our living. May you bless these gifts and those who give them in your name. Amen. I'm not going to begin by sharing a Bible reading because I've got it incorporated in the sermon itself, but I would like to begin by sharing with you a reading from another source. As you're going to hear in when the sermon or the message starts, I want to talk about awe and wonder for the next few weeks. So I want to begin by sharing with you a piece of writing by a guy called Thomas Merton. Thomas Merton was a monk, a spiritualist, who lived in the early 20th century and in so many ways was way before his time. This is what he once said: "Our ordinary waking life is a bare existence in which, most of the time, we seem to be absent from ourselves and from reality because we are involved in the vain preoccupations which dog the steps of every living person. But there are times when we seem suddenly to awaken and discover the full meaning of our own present reality. Such discoveries are not capable of being contained in formulas or definitions. They are a matter of personal experience, of incommunicable intuition. In the light of such an experience, it is easy to see the futility of all the trifles that occupy our minds. We recapture something of the calm and balance that ought to always be ours, and we understand that life is far too great a gift to be squandered on anything less than wonder-filled living. And now may the words of my mouth, the meditation of our hearts, be acceptable in thy sight, O God, our strength and our light. Amen." When was the last time you looked at something or tasted something or experienced something and said, "This is awesome"? Have you ever said something like, "The sunrise this morning was awesome"? Or "That piece of apple pie I had last night for dessert was awesome"? Or "I saw the Barbie movie. It was awesome"? When was the last time you looked at something or tasted something or experienced something and said, "That's awful"? Canada got knocked out of the Women's World Cup this week. That was awful. That steak I paid $40 for at the restaurant last night, it was awful. I saw the Barbie movie. It was awful. When was the last time you felt awestruck? I was visiting Ottawa the other day and walked around, and guess who walked around Spark Street? Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and I was awestruck. Or I went to see my grandchild's ballet recital, and she did a pirouette, and I was awestruck. Awesome, awful, awestruck. What do they all have in common? A tiny three-letter word, A-W-E, awe. A word that we use to let those around us know exactly how we feel about something, to let people know that we are not on the fence about what we've experienced. We are not wishy-washy, but it's made an impression on us. Awe. It captures the best things in life. It captures the worst things in life. It captures the things that make us grimace and turn our noses up, and it captures the things that move us and inspire us and make us exclaim, "Wow." You know, during my 2 weeks in Newfoundland, I used the term awe a lot. When I first drove off the ferry at Port aux Basques and drove into this land of towering hills and lush green forests, I remember exclaiming out loud to nobody but myself, "This is awesome." On the other hand, a few days later when I sat in a restaurant in Bonavista and for the first time tasted the Newfoundland delicacy of cod tongues, I remember thinking, "This is awful." When I peered into the midst way up in the northern peninsula, tip of the island, and saw a real Viking approaching me, I was awestruck and a little scared. It was an actor dressed up like a Viking who I later learned was a guy named Bill who owned a car dealership in town, and he did this on his spare time. But nevertheless, in the moment, seeing this guy walking towards me through the mist, I was struck with awe. A-W-E, what a powerful little word to capture the things that move us. Albert Einstein once famously said, "One who can no longer pause to wonder and stand wrapped in awe is as good as dead. Their eyes are closed." Do you use that word a lot? Do you use the word awesome? You know, I think it's a bit of a generational thing. I don't hear seniors use it, for example, as much as younger people. And I think sometimes it can actually be overused. Last week I was mulling this sermon over in my mind. I was at the Hyundai dealership getting an oil change. And a woman behind the counter said to me, she said, we should be done in 20 minutes if you want to wait. And I said, okay. I said, that's awesome. Then I thought to myself, is it really awesome? Am I really filled with awe that someone's taking oil out of my car, putting oil into my car, and charging me way too much to do it? And it works on the other side, too. Someone said to me a few days ago they went to the dentist and they have 3 cavities. And I said, oh, that's awful. I thought, really? Awful. Am I really full of awe when considering their rotting teeth? We do tend to use the word very freely and maybe questionably at times. We should probably do a better job in general of finding more descriptive words for things. Standing atop a mountain, peering into a valley is awesome. Getting 2 green lights in a row is great, probably not awesome. But then there are moments when the expression is perfectly acceptable, when it is the correct form for an experience. A bear walks into a bar, and the bartender freezes in shock. Bear sits at the bar, and the bartender stares at him, and the bear finally says, hey, pal, how you doing? Can I get a martini? Bewildered and completely awestruck at this talking bear, the bartender finally spits out, yeah, of course, and starts to make it. He brings the martini to the bear, and he sets it on the bar. The bear starts sipping the drink. Well, the bartender, still completely in awe, asks the bear, can I get you anything else? Bear says, no, thanks, I'm kind of in a rush. Bear pulls out a $20 bill, slaps it down on the counter. The bartender takes the $20 bill, goes to the cash register to get change, and then he thinks to himself, this is a bear. Bears aren't part of society. I'm sure this bear doesn't go to other bars. A bear has no idea how much a drink costs. I'm going to rip him off and not give him all the change. So he returns to the bear, gives him just $2 in change. Then he says to the bear, you know, we don't get too many bears in here. Bear finishes his martini and he says, well, at $18 a drink, I would think not. Oh, I said the joke's going to be better. They're not, sorry. Oh, it's a great word that when used right to capture the things that move us, inspire us, unsettle us, change us. And I share it today because really after having spent 2 weeks in what I'm now going to classify as my favorite province in Canada, the word awe really does capture so much of what I experienced and maybe what you experienced if you went there as well. From the vistas of Grossmorn Park to the puffins of Bonavista to the foggy outports of the Avalon Peninsula to the mysterious Viking settlements in St. Anthony, it truly was an awe-filled journey. And don't worry, I'm not going to bore you with the details. This is a pulpit, not a travel agency. But the trip did get me thinking of the concept of awe and what it's all about. There's been some amazing research that's been done over the past few years on the idea of awe and how experiencing things that fill us with awe can actually enrich us emotionally, spiritually, sometimes even physically, and sometimes not just enrich us, but even transform us. So for the next 4 weeks, I want to talk about awe. And I'm basing it on a book, and I meant to bring the book out, I didn't. I'll bring it next week. The book is called Awe, The New Science of Everyday Wonder and How It Can Transform Your Life. So if you want to read it, I'll bring it next week to show you. And I'm not just talking about watching a sunset or traveling to exotic destinations or seeing the wonders of the world. But next week, for example, I want to talk about how we find awe in people. I want to talk about how challenging things that can seem awful can actually open doors of healing. Or how things that can bring us into a state of awe can actually not be extraordinary, but can be very, very ordinary. So I want to have some fun with this topic over the next month. I hope it's going to be awesome. It might be awful. Or maybe you'll be awestruck when it's all done. But perhaps the question is, as good as awe is, what does it have to do with our Christian faith? So let's start there. And let's listen into a conversation that Jesus had one day with his disciples. Let me set the stage. You know, after listening to Ben over the past 3 months, one of the themes that I think he got across really well was he spoke about how difficult life was in the time of Jesus. And I would totally agree. And I would imagine the life of Jesus, life in the day of Jesus, was uncertain, worrying proposition. Perhaps one might use the term fearful. Bereft of any modern conveniences of life and detached from the safety nets that we often take for granted, such as healthcare or unemployment insurance, life was a struggle. And I think we can assume that uncertainty and fear colored much of the daily routines of life. So one of Jesus' goals was to nudge people away from fear towards faith. In other words, don't let yourself be consumed by the things that seed uncertainty and worry, but be transformed by the things that create and promote life. Well, you know the old saying, charity begins at home. Well, sometimes so does preaching. And for Jesus, home was the people that followed him, his friends and his disciples. It was important for him that this inner circle figure out this fear versus faith thing. So one day, perhaps sensing a mood of uncertainty or worry, he sits this group of people down and he begins talking to them and he asks them this question: why do you fear? Or what are you afraid of? I'm guessing it was rhetorical because nobody answered him. But rhetorical or not, it was the doorway through which he would walk and make a really good point. This is what he says to them. I know many of you know this passage well. He says, look at the birds of the air. Have you noticed? They're not afraid. They're not worried. They don't worry because they live in partnership with their Creator. They live in partnership with their creation. They are fed and they are cared for. And then he says, oh, look at the flowers. Aren't they beautiful? They don't live in fear. They don't worry. They don't worry about how beautiful they may or may not be. And yet God clothes them in glory, finer than the finest garments of the king. But, he says, you live in fear. You are always worried about what you're going to eat. You are always worried about what you're going to wear. And he doesn't say this, but basically this is what he means. He says, you fear and you worry because you've lost your innate connection with your Creator. You've lost your innate connection with your creation, with the forces, the good forces that are at play all around you. He then goes on to say what I think are the truest words in the entire Bible. He says this: can any of you, by worrying, add a single moment to your lifespan? Oh my goodness, how many of us need to hear those words? Can worrying add a single moment to your lifespan? You know what? If it could, some of us here would probably live forever. If we could worry ourselves into a long and happy life, some of us would have found the fountain of youth. But we know that not only is it not true, it's exactly the opposite. Excessive worrying will probably strip us of a few good years of life and make us miserable in the process. Please don't miss the challenge that Jesus is extending to us. When we strive to live in harmony and balance and in faithful relationships with our Creator, with our creation, with each other, with the forces of goodness that are all around us, we can begin to move out of that lane-marked fear and into that lane-marked faith, and the journey gets better. Look at the birds of the air. Look at the flowers. The key word there is look. Open your eyes. When you look, you see. And the things that you see can actually divert your mind from the treadmill of worries that you keep cycling through. And we can reset that balance and that harmony again. And what is one way to do that? AWE. Find that which gives us a sense of wonder or life. Wayne Dyer said the same thing this way: give yourself a gift of 5 minutes of contemplation in awe of everything you see around you. Go outside and turn your attention to the many miracles you see. This 5-minute-a-day routine of appreciation and gratitude will help you focus your life in awe. That's exactly what Jesus was saying. Awe is the ability to see life around us as a miracle. Okay, let's take a commercial break for a moment. You've listened to me talking for a while. I've spoken about awe, and maybe you've been sitting there thinking about what brings you a sense of awe. Maybe it's the birds, maybe it's the flowers, maybe it's something totally different that fills you with awe. So I'm going to ask, I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, would anybody like to share very quickly what is something that you've seen in your life, or that maybe you've experienced in your life today that gives you a sense of what you would call awe? Any takers? Jackie?
Sunset.
A sunset.
I love to walk in Echo Park at the wildflowers and watch the bees.
A walk in Echo Park, look at the bees. Okay. Sherry? Having a baby. Trinity? Walking on a sandy beach. Deb? The opening of the patio door, stepping on the dock, and looking at the view of Pickerel. Anybody else? Connie? Waterfalls? The Northern Lights. One more. Yep. The Rocky Mountains. Awesome. You know what I think is so interesting about awe is something that might fill you with awe might not fill somebody else with awe. It's very different for every person. You know, when I was on the ferry going from Sydney to Port Austin, Newfoundland, I realized something very quickly. It's not the same as being on the ferry to the Toronto Island, which is my only example of being on a ferry. It's a 6-hour ride through open water, through the open ocean. So we got going, beautiful sunny day, and as we got out there about an hour, the fog came in, and the clouds came in, and the wind picked up, and it started to pelt with rain. The waves came up, and the boat started going like up and down, up and down. And I'm sitting beside this guy, and he must have been at least 70 years old, maybe even in his 80s, and he turns to me, he's got a big smile on his face, and he goes, "Isn't this awesome?" I'm like, well, it's awe something. I don't know about awesome. I'm gripping on, I'm like praying to Neptune, the god of the sea, to like stop this thing from going up and down. But for him, it was awesome. For me, not so much. Funny thing was, he actually fell asleep. Like the boat actually put him to sleep. And he started to snore. And the sound coming out of his mouth filled me with awe. I've never heard that sound come out of a human being before. And his wife, one more thing, and his wife was sitting beside him, and she leans over to me and she goes, and he tells me he doesn't snore. Anyway, let's see how we can define what this is really all about. Simply put, it is a difficult concept to define. Most believe the word comes from the Greek word ekos, which means pain. And as we'll see in another message, there is a link between awe and pain. But the modern understanding of awe is that it's something pleasurable, not painful. So the dictionary says it this way: awe is an overwhelming feeling of reverence or admiration produced by that which is grand, sublime, or extremely powerful. It's a good definition. Remember a couple weeks ago we had a tornado warning here in Barrie. I don't know where you were when it came through. I was at home looking out of my window, absolutely transfixed. I've never seen rain or hail come down as fast as it did. I should probably be in the bathtub with a mattress over me, but couldn't take my eyes off the window. It only lasted a couple of minutes, but I was in awe of the power of nature. Jane Goodall, the anthropologist who lived in the 20th century, remember, she would embed herself for months at a time with communities of chimpanzees or gorillas to learn about human behavior or primate behavior. She believed that primates had a remarkable capacity for spiritual awareness, brought on by their endless curiosity about the world around them. For Jane Goodall, awe was a byproduct of being curious. She said this. She described awe as being amazed at things outside yourself. William James, a social psychologist, often called the godfather of modern psychology, was almost obsessed with the concept of awe. I love what he said. Awe, he said, is where your chills, tears, wide open mouths, and wows come from. You ever looked at something and felt a chill go down your spine, or your mouth figuratively or literally drops open? You are experiencing awe. But the best definition of awe, for me, and why I'm going to classify it as a spiritually healthy way to be, is this. Listen carefully. Awe is the feeling of being in the presence of something vast that transcends your current understanding of the world. The key word there is vast. What do you think of when you hear the term vast? You think of big, open, expansive, space. There's a very famous painting painted in 1818 called The Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog. It's by a German painter named Caspar David Friedrich. I wish I had it to show you, I don't, but look it up. Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog. It's a man standing on top of a rocky cliff, looking out on the endless fog, and through them are little mountains poking through the top of the fog. It's considered to be one of the best visual depictions of awe. What is he doing? he is contemplating vastness. What does that mean spiritually? To me, it is realizing that life, or the world, or God, or the universe, the other, is ultimately greater than anything we can ever put into words, than anything we can easily define. What does that have to do with faith and being spiritually whole? Think about it this way. Most of us live our lives within very clearly defined boundaries. Each day we know what we're getting into. We get up, we go to work, or we go to the gym, or we go for a walk, we go to the store. We see the same people day in and day out. We think about the same things. We watch the same shows. We usually go to bed and then usually sleep on the same side of the bed, right? We get up the next morning, we do it all over again. Little surprises us each day. But then every so often, we experiencing something that forces us beyond the daily boundaries that we have set, something beyond our regular routine, and we experience an opening up of ourselves and an opening up of what life can be. And maybe we get a chill or we get a tear and we say, wow, life has suddenly become more vast. That's why people travel, because it opens them up to things beyond their boundaries. It opens them up to the vastness of life and the myriad of life's experiences. But it's not just visual. Listen to how the book shares this point. The idea of vastness varies dramatically across cultures and the context of our lives. In some places, it is high-altitude mountains. In others, it is flat, never-ending plains with storms approaching. But for children, it is the immense warmth provided by parents. For those in love, it is expanding the capacity of the heart. It is anything that opens us up. I think it's so interesting that Jesus began his speech about the flowers and the birds by talking about fear, because fear does exactly the opposite of vastness. It is closing ourselves up. It is shutting ourselves out of anything that we think may unsettle us or upset us or cause us to worry or become anxious. The problem is, the more narrowly we focus our lives, the more fear we often feel. And it can seem comforting to do that, but it's really not how life is meant to be lived. We are shortchanging ourselves when we let ourselves be limited or boxed in by fear. That's what Jesus was talking about when he asked, why do you fear? In other words, why are you shortchanging your life? The challenge is to experience the things that open us up, which gives us a sense of the vastness, beauty, complexity, and curiosity that is life. It's what gets our senses to tingle. It's what gives us tears. It's what allows us to know that we are alive, and that it's okay that we don't know everything, and it's okay that we can't control everything. It's okay that we can't be everything. But instead, what we can do is stand in awe at the beauty, the myriad of life. Let it speak to us and move us and inspire us and deepen us. That is awe. It is bowing reverentially before the immensity of life and feeling a deep sense of appreciation that we have been given the gift to experience it. That's why I believe it is one of the great spiritual gifts of life. It is opening ourselves to this great, big, wide world, letting it fill us and feed us and free us. Free us from the narrowness of worry and fear. I'm going to end with this. The very last thing I did in Newfoundland before catching the ferry and coming home was the most challenging thing that I did in Newfoundland. I did a hike called the Lookout in Grossmorn Park. It was a trail going 2.5 kilometers straight up the side of a mountain to a lookout. And I mean straight up. I hadn't been exercising or eating particularly well over the last few days, so I needed this challenge. So off I went. And as I climbed, I passed people that were climbing down. And they were all saying, don't waste your time going up there. There's so much fog, you can't see anything. Save your breath, they said. Go back down. Well, as soon as someone tells me I have to do something, I know. I have to go and do it. So I kept climbing, and finally got to the very top, and I kid you not, and I don't take any credit for this because I know how coincidence works, but at the moment I got to the top, the fog cleared, the clouds parted, and I could see into the valley. I would say it took my breath away, but my breath was already gone by the walk up. This is what I saw. I felt what William James would call the chills of awe. Looking in that valley, I didn't feel limited by the vastness. I didn't feel diminished by it. But I felt a deep, profound sense of connectedness, that I am part of this beautiful, colorful, varied thing that we call life. It opened me up. Anyways, I stood there for about 10 minutes staring into the valley, and then it was time to go. The fog had started to gather again. And a light but persistent rain had started to fall. So I had two choices. I could turn around and go straight back down where I came, or there was a 1 kilometer loop that you could do at the top of the mountain before you climbed down. So I decided I'm up here, I may as well take the loop. So I took the second option. I started to wander along the plateau through the tall grasses that were there. And all of a sudden I noticed them. On either side were some of the most unusual flowers I've ever seen. Here's a picture of one of them. Long green stems, a nearly perfect red round flower at the top. They were everywhere. I thought they were poppies at first, but it turns out that they are called pitcher plants. They are native only to Newfoundland and are the province's floral emblem. Not only are they beautiful, but they eat insects, which is actually really cool. The vastness of the valley, the beauty of the flower, and there is awe. Amen. Thank you. Let us pray. God, you've given us the capacity to see, touch, taste, feel, hear the gift that is creation. All of life draws itself, inviting us to approach it with wonder and awe. And when we do, we can feel your presence holding it all together, a presence of balance and harmony and peace. As we journey into this week ahead, may we find deep within our own capacity for awe, striving to see things with new eyes and a new perspective. And by doing so, may we feel the hold of worry and fear loosen its grip. May we feel the heaviness of what we are carrying ease. May we feel our capacity to love and our faith to begin again open wide and deepen. For we are held in your hands. Continuing in prayer, we think of those near and dear to us who need our prayers today. Even if far away, they are as close to us as our thoughts. They are as important to us as those beside us. And so in this silent moment of prayer, in this peaceful place, we take a moment to offer our prayers for our loved ones, for our friends, for our world, and for ourselves. God, whose ways are the ways of peace, whose heart is the heart of love, be with us and bless us as we move from here to return to our routines. And having been refreshed in worship, may we feel goodness, may we be energized, and may we see the positive in all that this week brings our way. Hear us now as we continue in prayer, as we sing together the Lord's Prayer. Weekend. For those watching at home, I'm glad you joined us as well. And remember, there's ice cream this way. Let us end our service today with our closing hymn. Draw the circle wide, let us stand and sing together. waiting for us. Leave this place with eyes, hearts, and spirits wide open. And may this day and every day be awe-filled. We go in faith. We go in friendship. We go in peace. Amen.